How to improve emotional resilience. You're in the right place if you're ready to take a little more control over your own emotional freedom. Let's jump in. By the end of this video, you're going to see one simple shift that can change the game for you on your emotional resilience. Hi, I am Dr. Paul Jenkins, and if you're ready to take a little higher level of control over your own emotional resilience, you're in the right place. I've been helping people to do this for 3 decades. Are you ready? So let's cover 4 main aspects of emotional resilience. We'll start with metacognition, and then I want to get into what it is that generates our emotional energy, how we can focus on what we actually control, and then practice recovery, not perfection. Now that word that I mentioned, metacognition, all right, that's a fancy psychobabble word. We make up words in psychology. It makes us feel smart, and this is one of them. But if we break it down, cognition means thinking. Metacognition is a little higher level. It's thinking about thinking. This gets a little loopy. Stay with me. Be careful with it. You can hurt yourself, but notice that you can think about your thinking. This is important because usually we just think and then our thoughts drive us. When we think about our thinking, it actually puts us in the driver's seat for our thoughts. And either you drive your thoughts or your thoughts drive you. Metacognition allows you the space to choose. So metacognition creates that space in which you can have some choice. I invite you to turn that on for a moment as I give you a little guided tour of what's going on up there. Emotional resilience starts with understanding where our emotional reactions are coming from. And there's an error. In fact, in psychology, another one of those words we made up, this is actually a phrase, fundamental attributional error. I think I remembered it correctly from way back in my graduate school days. This is a mistake that we make all the time as humans. And it's where we attribute, this is the attributional part, we attribute how we're feeling to our circumstances. Look how I'm feeling. Look what's going on out there. And we think that we feel this because of what's happening. That's an error. It's not what's happening that causes our feeling. It's our thoughts about what's happening. And we know this for sure because you can have 2 people who experience exactly the same circumstances and have diametrically different responses to that. Completely different. A birthday, for example. Everybody has a birthday once a year. Some people have their birthday and they're like, oh, it's the best thing ever. You can come to my birthday party. And other people have a birthday and they're like, tell no one. I don't want to acknowledge this. It's not okay. At the time of this filming, we're just getting into the spring here in Utah, and one of the holidays we experience is Mother's Day. Same thing. I personally know women where that's the worst day of the year for them. And I know other women who love Mother's Day and they're so much looking forward to it. What is the difference? It's the same day. Well, the difference is in the stories that are in their mind. So notice that that's happening. And I'm not even telling you to change it. I'm just inviting you to notice it because emotional resilience is all about metacognition, tracking what's going on in your mind and seeing where your emotional response is coming from. Hint, it's not your circumstances, contrary to popular belief. Even already, I'm guessing that there are some lights going on. Who would you like to share this video with? I know, just as I said that, right? Somebody came to mind. Would you just click the share button and send it on over to them in a text or an email or however you care to share it? This is life-changing. Share it with the people that you care about. Now, I'm a psychologist. The word psychologist starts with a P, and I don't know why. It's a silent P. It sounds like an S. But another profession that starts with a P is plumber. And occasionally on weekends, I do little home improvement projects, and I was getting into one that involves some plumbing. Psychologist and plumber are very, very different skill sets, and I'm kind of clueless in one of those. So I called up my dad. My dad has a lot of experience doing very practical things, and I said, Dad, what do I need to know here in this plumbing? He says, well, Paul, there's only 2 rules of plumbing. I'm like, oh, this is going to be helpful. Help me out. He said, rule number 1. Water runs downhill. Okay, well, that's good to know, right? Rule number 2, don't lick your fingers, which I think Dad was kind of joking, but it's an important rule. If you've ever changed a toilet, you know. So what is the equivalent psychologically when it comes to our emotional resilience? This is huge. It's the same as the rules for plumbing, and the water runs downhill rule in psychology is some things you control, other things not so much. Are you with me? Sounds like water runs downhill. Duh. Okay, what's the don't lick your fingers rule? Pay attention to the things you do control. That's huge. A lot of what we get emotionally tipped over by is in the category of things we don't control. Have you noticed that? And if we insist that those things be different, we will be emotionally captive, emotionally stuck, because we have no control over it. What your kids are doing, for example, do you control that? You know what? We don't control the other humans, except for our kids for a while. And that's the delusion that we get into, because as parents, we're like, oh, we control this. No, you don't. And as your kids get older, you lose control, whether they want to share it with you or not, whether you want to give it to them or not. Your kids take over control of their own life at some point. Part of our job as parents is to work our way out of a job. So we're set up for this because we think we control other people. No, we don't. Emotional resilience is about focusing on what you do control. You don't control what someone else does or thinks, but you do control your own attitude, also known as position, relative to that. You don't control the weather, you do control how you dress. I lived in Finland for a few years, on the Arctic Circle, actually. And we had a saying in Finland, and it was, there is no such thing as bad weather, only inappropriate clothing. I don't control the weather. I do control how I dress. Are you with me? Emotional resilience is all about getting clear about the rules of plumbing. Now let's get to that last point, because I mentioned something about recovery versus perfection. Sometimes we get it in our head that we're supposed to go along through life, and emotional resilience means that we never have anything bad happen to us, or we never feel upset or tipped over. No, it's not about that. In fact, that is a misguided notion that hurts people. You are supposed to feel stuff. One of my clients, this was years ago, but I remember her coming into the office and saying, I just don't know why I can't get over this. And I'm like, get over what? My son ending his own life. And I'm like, whoa, hang on. How are you supposed to feel? How are you supposed to feel in that circumstance? You're supposed to feel just like this. She's like, yeah, but I think I'm supposed to be over it by now. This is a couple of months later, maybe a year, I don't know. What if emotional resilience has nothing to do with not feeling the pain? In fact, I think emotional resilience is that you feel everything that you're supposed to feel as a human. You feel it. You embrace it. You welcome it. One of my coaches taught me there are 2 kinds of pain. There's real pain, and that's the pain you're supposed to feel when you're hurt. And it doesn't matter if that's physical or emotional. When you're hurt, you're supposed to feel pain. And then there's neurotic pain. You know, the neurotic pain is the unnecessary pain that we create through our stories about the hurt. And actually, for this particular woman, her thought that she was supposed to be over it was causing neurotic pain. The pain that she felt in losing her son, she's supposed to feel that. And let yourself feel it. Most of the mental health issues that I'm familiar with as a professional psychologist have to do with trying to avoid feeling. Feel. Let yourself feel it. And let's give a lot of grace and room and forgiveness and respect to our fellow humans who are also feeling stuff. Assume that everyone you meet is having some experience, and some of that experience involves pain. Let's just be so compassionate and open. When we don't allow ourselves to feel it, sometimes what we do is go out there and try to prevent it, and that leads to addiction, or cover it up, and that leads to treating each other terribly. Let's just feel all of the rich human feelings that we're supposed to feel, and then focus on the resilience aspect, the recovery. Your brain, your body, you're designed to heal. It's miraculous. You know, if you cut your finger, and you put a Band-Aid on it, the Band-Aid doesn't heal it. The finger heals. The Band-Aid just creates an environment where that healing is most likely. I invite you to connect with that resilient nature of who you actually are. Emotional resilience is part of your design. And as you allow yourself to feel whatever you're going to feel and apply some of these powerful principles, you can move forward in ways that you may not have even expected. Does that pique your curiosity a little bit? I'm ready to dive into this a little deeper with you and share my experience as a professional psychologist. I've put together a Power of Positivity web class. We're going to go deep. I'll introduce that to you in the next video. Go take a look and you'll get an introduction to something else that's available to you. I'll see you over there.